If you're working on leveling up your credit score, here's 5 things that you can use to be able to get your credit score from wherever it is now to moving in the direction of 850, which is that magic number that opens so many doors for you of having an excellent credit score. So the very first thing is to pay your bills on time. So bill pay is a big percentage of what goes into making up your credit score. And so if you can pay your bills on time or even a little bit early, that's great. And we're looking at all bills across the board. This is not just your credit card bills or your loan payments. This is utility bills, doctor's visit bills, any other kind of bills, because late payments or missed payments are going to actually be reflected on your annual credit report. And so the first thing to do is just keep up with those bills. My best advice to you on this, especially with credit cards, is spend some time every day paying bills and just find a time that works well in with your schedule. For me, it's over coffee in the morning, and I'll sit down and just pay any bills that have come in, pay off my credit card balances. And it is so much easier, at least for me, to go through and do that once a day than even to have to sit down once a week or bi-monthly and then try to remember all the different things that I've spent money on and all the different bills that have come in over the last couple of weeks. It is so time consuming, and I find that doing it for 15 or 20 minutes in the mornings is just way less hassle. But whatever system works best for you, keeping up with those bills is the first way to really boost your credit score. The second thing to know about boosting your credit score is to reduce your credit card balances. So you really want to focus on, don't ever have your credit cards maxed out as much as you can help it. I mean, I know sometimes life happens and you get an emergency expense and your credit card is maxed out for a while, but as much as possible, try to keep your credit utilization to a minimum and keep things paid off so that you're not carrying large balances. Kind of average, a rule of thumb would be to use no more than 30% of your total credit limit at any given time. If you don't know what your credit limit is, you can just go look it up on your bank website or your credit statement, and it'll tell you what your total credit limit is on each card. It's probably different for each of your credit cards. So of that max, try to not use more than 30% of that at any given time. Even if ideally you can keep it to 20% or less, or like what I do now, where I'll just go pay them off every single day. So I'm never carrying balances day to day. Again, whatever works best for you. But really paying attention to not having constantly maxed out credit cards will hugely help your credit score. The third thing to do to level up your credit score is to avoid opening too many accounts, particularly too close together. So sometimes this happens where you'll just go through a big life event and all of a sudden you'll be needing to have your credit run for a new apartment, or let's say you're taking out a mortgage. Maybe you're getting a new car and so you're applying for a car loan. And so people are running your credit score a lot. Well, every time they do what's called a hard inquiry like that, there's a soft inquiry and a hard inquiry, but hard inquiries will start to affect your credit score if you have too many of those in too short of a period of time. And then as well, if you're just at a point where you're borrowing a lot of money all at the same time and taking out a lot of loans, that's really going to start impacting your credit score. So just kind of try to space those out as much as possible and as much as life allows, because sometimes these things happen. And then the fourth thing to think about is to keep old accounts open. So this is something that's really important. There is advice out there that you'll see some financial professionals recommending that you cut up your old credit cards, close the accounts, and so forth. I don't personally recommend that. Now, if that's a strategy you use that works well for you, by all means do that. But in terms of thinking about leveling up your credit score and getting your credit score to as close to 850 as you possibly can, it's really helpful to keep old credit card accounts open. So what I recommend you do is get them paid off, keep an eye on them, and make sure there weren't any charges that you forgot about, or annual subscriptions or memberships and so forth that can pop up and need to be paid off. Keep the credit cards in a safe place, and then just hang on to them because they come in handy for two things. One is that they obviously help build your credit score, because the use of credit throughout your life is one of the things that goes into building your credit score. It's 15% of that number. And then the second thing too is that way, if you have an emergency, you have those open lines of credit that you can just use in a pinch rather than having to scramble and take out a loan. So there's a lot of reasons to keep credit cards around in your life, but just be very judicious about how you use them. And for some people, credit cards are not their thing. They don't use it at all, but your credit score is still very important whether or not you ever use a credit card. So don't worry if you don't use credit cards at all, your credit score then will be impacted by things like loans you've taken out, your bill pay, things like that. But it's just one of these pieces that goes into it is how long you've had credit open in your name and other loans as well, mortgages, things like that. And then the fifth thing to think about is to monitor your credit report regularly. So this is something that you can get for free. I'll link in the description below of where you can go to download a free credit report. I believe now all three of the major credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, are offering these for free as well. So you can go and download an annual credit report. This just shows everything that's gone on in your credit life over the past year. It's always good to make sure that you don't have any fraudulent charges on there or loans, God forbid, that people have tried to take out in your name without you knowing. This is something why I always recommend that people put what's called a credit freeze on. You can do that for free now at all three credit bureaus, and that blocks people from taking out credit cards, loans, things like this in your name without your knowing. This is unfortunately especially a problem when it comes to seniors who often get victimized by credit fraud like this. So if you have loved ones in your life who are in their retirement years, definitely have a conversation with them as well about putting that credit freeze on. But just kind of keeping an eye on your credit report once a year is really good too. There's also credit monitoring services. Experian offers this. It's the one I use. And they offer a monthly service where you can then have them monitor your credit report and make sure that nothing fraudulent is going on. And so that's a really good service as well. If you want to sign up for something like that, you can. I'll link to that in the description as well. And then the sixth and final thing to know about leveling up your credit score is to sign up for those paid credit monitoring services. So like we were just talking about, it's really helpful sometimes to just take the guesswork out of it and sign up for a paid service. Experian right now is $26 a month. It used to be like $11 for many years, and now it's gone up to $26. But like everything else, all the prices on everything keep going up. But it's a really good thing. And sometimes these credit monitoring services as well will have customer service reps who can help you. If you do have a fraudulent charge on your account, they can also help with insuring you against any fraudulent charges. Some of them offer insurance as well against that. So that's a great thing and a great service as well. And then if you don't have money for a paid monitoring service, like I was talking about earlier, then just put a credit freeze on. Just go to those three credit bureaus, put a free credit freeze on, and that completely blocks anyone from being able to open credit cards, lines of credit, and so forth in your name because it's a freeze on your account. The other nice thing too is that way if you're in the store and get offered a store credit card, you can just politely decline, and if they get pushy, just say, oh, I have a freeze on my credit score. And of course they'll be like, oh, okay, no problem. So it is really kind of nice to be able to kind of have that to safeguard your credit from other people who shouldn't be accessing it, and also safeguard yourself from opening up more store lines of credit that you may or may not need, at least not get pushed into it on the spot by a well-meaning salesperson. So those are the 6 things to do to level up your credit score. And thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you again soon in my next video.